Hey guys, this video is a collaboration with the channel Unit 522. You can find a link to his channel in the description and at the end of the video. Thanks.
I grew up in a suburb of Raleigh, North Carolina that has a virtually non-existent crime rate. My father and I moved there when I was 6. He was always busy, so I pretty much had to raise myself. So naturally, I attended school there, made all of my lifelong relationships there, so on and so forth. In 2008, I was a senior in high school. I had a very close-knit group of friends, primarily composed of people I had known since middle school. One such friend just recently came back from Holly Hill, which is our local mental hospital, after a suicide attempt. Matt had been gone for a couple of weeks. I saw him in the courtyard before heading for class. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to talk, so all I said to him was, "Welcome back. I missed you." I did not want to risk being late for class, but I would have if I had known that would be the last thing I would ever say to him. Matt suffered from depression and dementia for years, but he kept a pretty good rap on the details, so none of his friends really had a big inkling of how severe it was until the aforementioned suicide attempt. We got out of school for Thanksgiving break, and one of our mutual friends messaged me on Facebook and asked if I would like to go paintballing with them on the night of the 30th. I had to turn them down because I had to see my grandparents the next morning for a late Thanksgiving celebration. It wasn't a big deal, just kind of a disappointment. Break came and went. We went back to school, and Matt was absent again. There had been a rumor floating around that he had run away from home and had gone back to Washington, D.C. to look for his birth mother, but I wasn't sure I believed that, especially that he would go off on this long-term trip without at least mentioning it to me first. In between switching classes, I tried to call his cell phone, but it was off. I didn't think anything of it. A few days later, during lunchtime, there was a buzz around the school that Allegra, our mutual friend from earlier, and Adil, someone else who I was more of acquaintance with than friends, but I still knew of him, had been taken out of class and arrested. We had no idea what had happened, but I had a strange feeling that it had something to do with Matt's absence. After that, all I could really think about was where Matt was, and the fact that Allegra sat behind me in Shakespeare class, and that she was so tired that she slept through the class the day we came back from break. The school tried to keep everything quiet in regards to the students theorizing and talking to one another. But it was high school, and word travels fast. When we weren't talking, we were texting each other about it. Our local news website reported in an article that 4 of Matt's friends had been arrested in connection with a body found in Allegra's parents' summer home. You guessed it, it was Matt. 2 years afterward, Allegra and Adil and the 2 people from Matt's circle of friends went on trial. Allegra received 2 consecutive 20-year terms for conspiracy to commit murder and murder in the second degree. Adil received the same. The 2 others in the trial received a life sentence for first-degree murder. I watched the trial unfold. They killed him on the night of November 30th, the night they asked me to come paintballing with them. There was a period of time where I kicked myself for not going that night. I like to think that I would have had some, if a little, influence in stopping them.
This is a story my uncle told to me before he died. Unfortunately, I'm unable to provide proof of this occurrence, but I don't think he would lie about something like this. I'm going to tell you this story from his perspective as it was told to me. It was the mid-1980s in Arkansas. My girlfriend at the time dragged me to a wedding. She was close friends with the bride. The wedding took place on a ranch. I have to say, it was a pretty nice setup, surrounded on all sides by thick forest that stretched on for miles. We were literally in the middle of nowhere. It took us 3 hours just to reach this place, but the journey was worth it, even though I didn't know a whole lot of people there. I still had a great time. I even danced, and I never dance. There was an open bar, so you can imagine that things got pretty wild as the night progressed. After about an hour of me reenacting Saturday Night Fever on the dance floor, I had to sit down because my feet were starting to hurt. Before I go on, let me explain the layout of this ranch. The ranch and the outside dance floor was located in a clearing, and it was surrounded on all sides by trees. There was a tree line about 35 to 40 yards away from where I was, and there was a lot of bright lights around the dance floor, but beyond that it was completely dark. As I was sitting there rubbing my sore feet, I could see something taking place in the distance, just outside the tree line. I couldn't see too clearly because of the lighting, but what I saw kind of amused me. I saw a dark figure dragging someone into the tree line. Again, it was hard to see, but I thought the person that was being dragged was wearing one of the bright yellow bridesmaid dresses. I chuckled when I saw that. I remember thinking it looks like someone drank too much. I feel the need to point out that I too was a little intoxicated. Otherwise, I might have said something about someone being dragged away from the party into a dark forest. Maybe I thought the two were, going to get freaky in the woods or something. A few hours later, we left the wedding celebration, but what I found out 2 days later made my stomach drop. Apparently, one of the bridesmaids went missing after the wedding. I told the police what I remembered seeing that night. The very next day, they found the body of the missing bridesmaid in the woods. She had been dismembered and some of her limbs were found scattered throughout the forest. From what I hear, they didn't even recover all of her body parts. The person responsible for this was never found. I felt guilty for many years after this. But I can't help but think I could have saved her life if I had said something. She wasn't even 20 years old yet. She had her whole life ahead of her, but she ended up in pieces.